Hello and Assalamu alaikum everybody. A very good evening from Dr. Kiran Hashmi. I welcome you all, everybody who has been a part. I have announced this panel discussion a week before and I got a tremendous response from everybody who's there. Thank you very much everyone for showing your support. Thank you very much everybody for being here. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to share our experiences with you all. I'm here. I hope most of you know me because the ones who are there in my group or knows me personally or professionally. But let me introduce myself to all of you. I'm Dr. Kiran Hashmi. I'm PhD in education. I have an experience of about 70 years in education and teacher education. And my passion is basically to teach with fun. And I want my classes and students to be happy learners. I'm very, very blessed to have a group of people who have always been supporting and very supportive to me, and three of them are here sitting with me. But before I introduce the three lovely ladies who are here, I would like to introduce my group, Skillers Education Consultancy, to all of you. It's a group of professionals. Three of them, mashallah, are sitting here right in front of you, and you will get a chance to hear and come to know what expertise these people have. But before that, Skillers Education Consultancy is a unique endeavor which the three of us have made together to support education and specifically teacher education. We are all in the field of education. We are there. We have been working for education and we have actually studied from teacher education institution that really fosters the real meaning of education. And that's what we aspire to continue through Scalers Education Consultancy. We are available for your support in case if you need any kind of support in terms of enhancing the teaching learning processes, in supporting your teachers and supporting your curricula. Please feel free to contact us. With this little introduction of Skillers, now I would like to move on to my esteemed guests, who are actually my very dear friends, but yes, my teachers and my biggest supporters ever. So we have with us Amna Ghulam Hussain. Amna, would you please introduce yourself before I say anything about you?
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Amna Ghulam Hussain, and I've been in this field for the past 17 years. It has been more than 17 years, I would say. And I've been working as an early childhood care and education expert because this is my area of specialty. I have done my B.Ed and M.Ed from a very renowned institute, Notre Dame Institute of Education. And currently, I'm enrolled in MPhil in Teacher Education Department. And again, my area of expert is early childhood care and education. Besides that, I've worked as a program manager, as a coordinator in different public-private organizations, and I'm also associated with a couple of organizations as an author. I've already written a couple of books for them. I'm also in the process of writing a couple of books, and I'm also one of the co-authors of the Early Childhood Care and Education Curriculum for SIN, which was launched in 2018. And for that, I have worked with SIN Education and Literacy Department. So this is my area of expertise. It's basically early childhood. So when the child is not even born, since that time, I'm working with the parents, with the teachers, with the siblings, with the people around them, and I just guide them. I train teachers, I train parents in this field. So you can feel free to take help, any kind of help from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Amna. This was indeed a very comprehensive introduction, and I must say that the audience who are listening to us will definitely get some ideas about early childhood care and education. I would now like to invite Fawzia Gulab to please share something about yourself with our viewers.
Right. Hello, everyone. As Kiran has already introduced to you, my name is Fawzia Gulab. I have been working at Notre Dame Institute of Education for past 17 years, and my area of expertise are curriculum and instruction, teacher education, pedagogies, and morality and ethics. So I've done MPhil from ICRA University. Right now, I am PhD scholar at ICRA University.
Right. Thank you, Fawzia. So we've got another PhD scholar sitting here besides me, and she's about to complete her PhD. And Fawzia has taken a very interesting topic in her PhD program, which itself is going to be a good study and a good contribution to the existing literature. Thank you, Fawzia, for taking out time. I would now like Fawzia Nawaz to just share something about herself, and then we will move on to the other parts.
Okay, thank you, Kiran. So as you all know, my name is Fawzia Nawaz. I am a graduate of Notre Dame Institute of Education, and I've worked at Notre Dame for like 14 years. Past 14 years, I've completed my MPhil from Afan University in 2017. And currently I'm working at the same university as an associate. So this is my brief introduction. My area of expertise is basically science, secondary science education, and beside that, secondary education and higher secondary education. So this is my brief introduction, and that's it.
Right. So I think we've got a very interesting panel with us today, and everybody is coming in from a different expertise and different experience, and I'm sure our viewers will definitely be learning a lot. So let's start a panel discussion, everybody. And as you all know, that the topic we have selected together is preparing children for post-COVID-19 education, the opportunities and the challenges. Today's panel discussion is actually based on 3 rounds. In the first round, my esteemed presenters will share their own viewpoints. In the second and the third one, we'll talk about the challenges and opportunities. We will also be taking your live questions. Please, everybody, the viewers who are listening to me, I will really encourage and appreciate if you can raise your questions, and your questions will pop up here. But we will definitely be answering your questions at the end, which is the last segment of our panel discussion. Right? So let's begin with my very first question is to Ms. Amna. Amna, as you are dealing mainly with the early years students and parents, how do you see the transformation within education during this COVID-19 time period?
Okay, thank you, Kiran. Let me just start with, like, we deal with smaller kids, okay? And since they are already, if they are already going school-going kids, you can just say that, you know, how close we used to keep the students from their peers also, and with their teachers also. So in that case, now it has been more than 3 months, I would say, that they are at home, and at your home also they are away from their studies. They're away from, mostly they're away from play also, because the parks and the public places are also not open for them. And not many homes have got educational toys with them, okay? And parents cannot afford also to buy such expensive toys. So I would just say that, you know, when they are going to come back to the schools, they will be not only emotionally disturbed, they'll be socially disturbed, they would be maybe they have learned some sort of abusive language that we will really have to cater. And the main thing is that since we always tell them to jam up together, we have to separate them. So the social distancing is very, very important, and which is really going to disturb them a lot. Since last 3 months, they have been listening, distance rakho, distance rakho. So it is really a challenge for them. So personally, I would say that for the first 15-20 days, we should not be touching the academics at all. And as early childhood experts, I would say that, you know, we should be only focusing on their skills development, their holistic development, their fine and gross motor skills, which includes different types of activities. Plus, we need to train them that now social distancing is, you know, it's a part of our life. It doesn't mean that we should not be sharing the things, but we should have a different way of doing the things now. We will still be working together in the groups, with their teachers, individually, in the school playground, whatever, but with some sort of norms or some sort of SOPs that we will be creating. So rather than the teacher giving them the SOPs, I would personally suggest that we should involve them if they are that much, if they are spoken enough, or they can share their views. We can tell them only to develop their SOPs, that okay, if we need to share something with each other, what are some of the ideas that you would be like to do, okay? And then the stationaries, the personal belongings, everything would be separate now, because previously they were in a habit of working together, sharing their color pencils, sharing their lunch, their snacks, everything. So in that case, we really need to work on their social emotional skills, and then developing some sort of ideas, come up with some sort of strategies which they feel comfortable. And of course the teachers should already be prepared that, you know, what sort of things she will be needing from the school management, from the parents, of course, because every child will be disturbed a lot at this stage. Yes, I hope I've answered the question, or if there's anything else, too late.
Yeah, thank you, Amna. No, thank you very much, Amna. I will be taking questions at the end, but I think you have very rightly pointed out that it's specifically at the earlier stage, the most important aspect which parents and adults have to manage is socio-emotional development of the children in these times of frustration, I would say, because everybody is at home, a lot of traumas are going on, a lot of uncertainties are there. So taking care of that, of young children, is something that we really need to look for. So thank you. I'll now move to Ms. Fawzia Gulab. Gulab. Fazia, my question remains the same to you as well. How do you see education in this COVID-19 situation?
Right. Yes, Kiran, education in primary schools. The challenges that I see is like getting students back to learning. Because see, we are closed for almost more than 3 months, and at homes, all the parents are not capable of helping their children in learning. So the biggest challenge that educationists, the teachers, and the schools have is to get them back into the routine of learning. Because I believe students must have forgotten anything, and like when I talk about education and children and parents, I talk about the general population. I don't talk about like few elite schools or few parents who are educated, but generally taking circumstances of our country, what I see that it will be very difficult to get them back into schools, to get them back into learning mode, because students would have forgotten all the skills, mathematics skills, science skill, social studies skill, all those skills that I'm assuming. The other challenge besides learning would be social distancing. Because see, COVID is not going to go in a month or 2 months or 3 months. We need to teach our children. So I think when students will come back to school, so before we start teaching them academics, we need to teach them how to live with COVID. Now, see, I see that impossible, because look at the number of children are in our schools, in each classrooms. So the first thing that like our government and everybody else is saying, social distancing. Now, with the students of 50 in a class or 60 in government, sometimes 80, 90, with so small classrooms, how are they going to maintain social distancing? Okay, impossible. For me, my opinion is that will be impossible, social distancing. After social distancing, like washing your hands, sanitizers, like see, our schools don't have clean water, right? Where are they going to get the sanitizers for students to wash their hands? They have no drinking water. Where will be the like soap and water to wash the hands? So again, a challenge for the schools, like so to manage in these circumstances within the school. So school, I feel, will not be responsible only to teach children how to manage themselves while they are in the school, but school will be responsible or are responsible teaching or training students how to manage themselves when they will be at home. So it will be sort of curricular and co-curricular activity. When you go out, curriculum is everything, no, that you learn inside and outside. So it will be the same thing. We need to teach the primary school kids, young children, like they may not understand why to wear mask and why to maintain distance. They would not be able to measure what is 6 feet distance. So the challenge now, challenge for our teachers would also be for academics. So, the reports, the World Bank report or other reports say like only 10% of students in like low income schools, low income countries, sorry, they can read, do maths, or they can understand. Now imagine we are in low income, we are one of the low income countries, and if our children have not gone to schools for 3 months, 4 months, and they have not studied at home at all. I know that I mean, I have not done any research, but I'm very much sure that it will be the same, like observing the like relatives or in the neighborhood, like children are not studying at all. So the challenge for the teachers would be again to get them back into studies, learning of mathematics, learning of language, learning of social studies, and learning other skills. So I think the challenges are great. Together with students, like teaching the students, challenge for schools will be to teach the parents also. Like see, when school will get off or when parents will come to drop children at school, you know very well, and we all know how much rush is there of the traffic, of parents pushing and pulling, and like no all that. So who is going to manage? How will that be managed? So all those are the challenges for our schools. So what I see challenge for school is not only academic teaching, it is also how to live with COVID, and how teaching children how to live, teaching parents how to manage children with COVID at home, and even when they come to drop to pick children, how to manage that. So those are some of the challenges that I see for how to manage with COVID situation.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Fazia. Thank you very much. Fazia has actually highlighted the challenges that she foresees within our schools, both in public and private sector. And for her, social distancing, though we are really educating our children and our adults, still we see that within Pakistan, this has really become a problem. We really don't understand how to maintain that social distance and how to maintain the hygiene that we are required to. And yes, it's absolutely right that we do not even have pure drinking water. And washing hands with water is another big dilemma, big challenge that we will foresee. So thank you, Fazia. From here, I will move to Fazia Nawaz. And Fazia Nawaz, again, my question remains the same. How do you see this COVID as a transformating point for the education system?
All right. Thank you, Kiran. And I will actually like to develop the ideas what Amna and Fazia Gulab has already mentioned. But with a little twist actually, because we need to keep the age group in mind, what age group I will be talking about. It's basically 12 to 20 or 22, roughly, if I talk about. So it's a teenage, and it's a difficult age itself, basically, if we understand, if we try to make sense of it. So the major crisis of this age group is the identity. So right now, I see from psychology point of view that their identity is basically they are confused, and they are more confused because by nature they are already confused, and they are looking forward to developing themselves, developing skills, developing social skills, and trying to learn around them. But now with this social isolation, I think there are other challenges which they are coming up with. And now the question which the experts are talking about is the problem of well-being of these children. Not only these children, but many of us also. So now well-being, why the well-being is in question basically, because the routine is changed. We are not working with the same pace the way we were working earlier. So that needs to be looked into, that needs to be understood basically. And why it is a problem, because it's not regular school. These children are not meeting their friends on regular basis. They are not going to school at all. So there is no routine actually. So in some cases, if we start gathering the data and we do some research, it will come to light that basically, there is nothing these children are actually doing. It's organized. And as Fazia Gulab mentioned very clearly, the parents are also not aware of these things maybe, and they don't have skills, they don't have those abilities maybe, right? And perhaps I would say, I will go to another level that perhaps they don't have time to do that because they have other responsibilities also. And it was all of a sudden put onto us that, okay, there is COVID and now there is social distancing. Now you all have to stay home. So now nobody was prepared for that. It was when in the beginning of the 21st century, we used to hear that there will be challenges which we have never come across. So I think this is a very good example of that. So that's something which is there. Now, the major question, which I think Amna and Fazia has also highlighted, and I will emphasize on that currently the problem is what sort of skills are required to be developed, what sort of skills will be needed in future. And I think from the adult point of view, from expert educationist point of view, we are also still looking for it, that what sort of skills these children will require when they go back to school. So I think there are lots of debates happening at the moment. People are discussing, people are talking about that. So it will come to light gradually at the time as the time passes on, and then their identity will become more clearer, and then they will be in a better position. But the thing is basically that they will not be alone. They can't do that alone. So they need support from all the adults, teachers, parents, family members. So they will be able to help them cope with that basically. So now this, the other thing is basically that these children, so well-being is associated not only with not doing anything, it is only also associated with not having any sort of engagement, mental engagement is not there. So there is no activity for these children. And if we look at our own context, we don't have the physical space for children. We don't have parks, and parks are obviously, they are off limit at the moment, so you can't go there. So they have small houses, children are there, and there are many siblings in the house. There is no space. So things like that. So no routine, no play, no social activity at all, no mental activity at all. So I think there are multiple, I'm just talking about superficial problems, but there are problem is more deeper than that. So which will come to light gradually. And as soon as it comes up, I think then it will start we will start addressing them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fawzia Nawaz, again for a very interesting and very detailed answer. I think while I was listening to all three presenters, you all have highlighted social problems, emotional problems, physical problems, and psychological problems, which are actually coming up together to disintegrate the system of education that we have in hand now. So let's see, Fawzia Gulab has already highlighted some of the challenges, but now let's talk more in terms of the years that the age groups that we are talking about. So let me come to Amna. And Amna, I would now like you to share what challenges do you foresee pre-COVID, in between the COVID and post-COVID in terms of developing children and helping parents understand how to help them educate. Because your area of specialization is earlier, so I would really like you to come up with those challenges which you see and how you can support parents and teachers in handling them in future.
Thank you, Kiran. All right. Now, see, early childhood period is a very, very crucial period in the child's life. Okay, we all know that. We all agree to this thing. So, during this stage, either you can make the child or you can break the child. See, so rather than breaking the child, we should be focusing on making the child. So, yes, it's a big, big challenge for the people, especially for the people who are working with the early years. Uh, the first thing is that what Fawzia also already mentioned, that we really need to see that how can we provide them with moral support first of all. But before that, even when they enter the school premises, are we using sanitizers? Are we using soap and water for the washing hands or whatever? Are we using Dettol sprays or what other things the school can provide, the management can support in that, or even we can take help from the parents also. Secondly, before the child comes to the classroom, we really need to see what type of education material are we providing. If we have material like which is mostly made of cartons and box cards and all those things, we cannot wash them. Neither we can spray anything on them. Okay, so we really need to see that what other material do we have. Do we have material for specific child or is it a shared material? We really need to see that. Then secondly. The role of parents is very very important. Either I can just give you some of the options. What we can do is we can either call parents, because definitely it is already mentioned that they are not skilled, they are not trained, they don't have time to sit with the children, and especially by staying home for the last 3 months, their entire routine has been changed. Sleeping late at night, getting up late, watching movies, watching all sort of dramas, which is not for their age, of course. So we really need to see that. And plus, if you are trying to develop some sort of skills, because academics, I told you that at this stage we cannot focus on that. So whatever skills you are trying to do with them, how can we do all those things, especially keeping them together also, yet the social distancing is there. So the major difference is this, and then we also need to see the ventilation of the classrooms, because there are, yes, I do agree, there are more than 30-35 students, even in private schools. Public schools, so we can just leave them, but even in private schools, there are more than 30-35 students in each class with one teacher. So if the school is providing with another helper, or maybe we can ask some of the parents to volunteer, some sort of strategies needs to be developed, and then we should be carrying on with our focus work.
All right. Thank you, Amna. You have actually highlighted some of the challenges. Let's listen to Fawzia. Fawzia, you have already highlighted a few in your previous response, but anything else if you like to contribute here in terms of the challenges that you see for the primary school students?
When Amna was talking, like sharing her position about early childhood, I was also thinking about primary school children. So, see, Kiran, I was just thinking that schooling was meant to be socializing, not only socializing but learning from each other. We always focused in early or in primary, secondary, even to teacher education. We keep telling students cooperate with each other, learn with each other, learn from each other, share your things. Like, see, from those activities, we try to inculcate the values of being together, value of sharing means caring, value of dividing, value of even if you have half but share with your friend half of the thing. Now see, COVID has like turned everything upside down. Now we need to tell our students, like, don't sit or don't be near to each other, not two people on one desk. Don't give or don't take others water bottle, because we don't know from which background this student is coming, so you should not be touching what he has. Like, see, life is become limited, okay, with COVID. And therefore I feel like we might have to teach our children to remain limited to themselves, right? Like, see, we always encouraged our children, are like school students as well as kids at home, invite your friends, go to your friends parties, go for this. Like, socializing, school is there to prepare children for socializing, they have to. Now we have to tell something else. So when I was reading something the other day, I liked the statement written by the author, said COVID has the potential. Now see, when we use the word potential, I always took it as the strength. But he said COVID has the potential to ruin the learning, to ruin the education system. And actually COVID has done that, right? COVID has used its potential. Now the challenge for our government, our teachers, and for all of us is how we are going to tell that those important values of caring, of sharing, of being together, of bringing two pencils and giving one to your friend in the primary classes, of, like, sharing your water, sharing your lunch, giving your textbook, going to the home for birthday parties, inviting, like having celebrations in the school. Like, see, all that, like, world or we all are become so much like individualistic. Only me and my home, me and my home, and maybe my family, and then whoever else is remain far. So instead of, like, we normally tell people to get closer to each other, now we are telling people, don't come close to me, remain far, remain far. So see, when people remain far, there is no love, there is no acceptance, there is no, like, even fun. So this is the challenge, that how are we going to manage. So what I am saying, I'm suggesting that schools or parents or teachers, whoever are responsible for children, should not give up the values. Okay, whatever values we were supposed to teach our children at primary level, pre-primary, secondary, we must teach. Yes, with precautions, great precautions, but keeping in mind is not only COVID. Hopefully we will get vaccination and we will learn to live with it, but if we lose the values, we will lose it forever. So at least I don't want my next generation to lose the values of being together, right? So similarly, I would want teachers also not to, like, get rid of those values. Yes, it will be difficult, but we must teach our children, and that is a great challenge, how to live our values which we cherish from our society, values that we cherish from our religion and from other thoughts also, right?
Thank you, Fawzia. It was a very interesting and I think a very good answer. And while you were sharing your response, I could very easily reflect your study coming in all about values and care and support to each other. And this is basically the virtue of a good scholar, where you actually integrate your learning with real life examples. So moving on to Fawzia Nawaz now. Fawzia, again, the same question. How do you foresee the challenges of education for adolescents age?
All right, thank you, Kiran. What I see, basically, my area of expertise or where I have worked is basically the academic skills of this age group, particular age group I'm talking about. So what I see that I've worked with this age group for quite some time now, and I see that they already had a lot of challenges in terms of academic skills, reading, writing, and then organizing the text and organizing the thoughts. What I see basically the major challenge when the post-COVID situation will soon arrive, which we all hope that it will arrive soon, right? So the challenge would be that. So in that context, what is going to happen is maybe there will be different kinds of skills which will be required from these children. So, and teachers need to learn those skills so that they can facilitate these children as well. Why I'm saying that? Because academic skills, what these students are introduced earlier, was based on what was the assessment system that was prevailing. I don't see in the post-COVID situation the summative assessment happening very often and very effective, because that would not support what kind of learning children will be having. These students will be having during the COVID situation, and when they come back, so their skills would be limited. That's what is anticipated actually. Provided it will be a very good thing if their skills are enhanced, it's provided whether they are supported during the COVID situation, these children, because I see that a lot of online support is provided to these children. Schools are supporting them and they are engaging themselves with, so screen time is increased basically if you look at that, right? So as Fawzia was mentioning, socialization is the major aspect of it, but as if I see it, that online education has actually, I mean, there are different views among experts basically. Either the socialization has increased because people are more I mean, with online, they are talking and they are sharing their thoughts and all that. But at the same time, screen time is also increased. So now, as I was mentioning earlier, that it's basically the confusion or the situation with all the educators also. I mean, we are in the process of trying to make sense of what is happening. So the challenge is not only for these children, but the challenge is for the educators also, for the management also, for principals also, for leadership also. So and now I think everybody is working together. They are trying to figure out what would be the case, because the whole future, the whole nation is dependent on this age group. And basically, students and education is the pillar of any society, any country or anything. But the thing is, we need to tackle that, and they are the very important part of that equation, basically. The thing is, major challenge, what I see is basically the complexities of skill and the problem of skills. And when they come back, the skills would be in question. Perhaps we need to highlight new skills. Perhaps we need to make them develop the skills which will help them to cope with the challenges they come up with. Beside that challenge, I think I've heard Amna and Kiran, Fawzia Gulab also mentioning that. First thing first, basically. Like they were in the school context, so they were socializing with each other. So there was no social distancing actually, no washing of hands. I mean, it was not a regular practice, right? So it was there. Obviously, personal hygiene was very important and highlighted in the schools as well and their homes also. But it's a different kind of situation now. Now they have to take care of the social distance. They have to maintain like covering the mouth, I mean, face with the mask and all that. So this is something, a new scenario for these children. And I just imagine with these children, I mean, how would you train them or educate them that wearing mask is important, using sanitizer is important, washing your hand is important, social distance is important. So I think there are lots of things to process basically. There are a lot of information that they have to process and they have to work with basically. And as Amna was mentioning earlier, that academics will be the second thing. And this is not only with the early years, I think this is the same case with adolescents also. Because their mind works with the same principle. So mind is not changing. It's there, it's still in the process of development. So they need to understand that social distancing is important, wearing mask is important, washing hands is important, sanitizing your hands is very important. Then I think comes the role of the academics. Then, I mean, it's like you need to prepare them for the academics, for the skills basically, and that will happen like within its own time. So I think when the schools open, the need would be to have some sessions and education, seminars or things like that for this age group particularly, that why and how it is important. Because media might not be the enough space for them to understand the importance of these things. So we need to have one-to-one like counseling and talk with these children, engaging parents with that so that parents are also on board and they can also, emphasize and help these children at home as well. Because right now what I won't say I fear, but I think part of the problem would be that we will be talking about something in the school and telling children to do, but maybe the parents are not on board. So then it will be another level of problem. So I think parents should be partner at every age group, specifically, early years definitely, because that is established fact, early years and primary years. But I think at adolescence level also, parents need to be engaged and they need to be taken on board that how they can help these children, because these children are dealing with multiple problems and challenges beside their personal problems. They have now the COVID also in place. So I think this is the major thing which we all need to work on and think through that how we can tackle with that. Thank you.
All right, Fazia, thank you very much. While listening to all three of you, more or less your ideas are very similar because a similar kind of challenge is foreseen, be it any age group. Thank you, viewers. I have received a number of questions. So this means that you are really there, you are really listening to us, and you're really interested to learn more from the panel that I have today. I will be taking your questions right after this question, which I'm going to ask my presenters. Please feel free to continue to comment and continue to question. Now, coming up to the last question of this panel before we move on to Q&A, we have just spoken about the challenges from early years to adolescent stage. Now, as educators and as teacher educators, how do you people see what opportunities now are there? What are your suggestions? How can we actually bring these challenges into practice and then see a change post-COVID situation? So I would really like if all three of you can highlight some of the opportunities that we can share with our listeners that they can easily apply within their own classroom settings and school settings. So starting off with Amna. Amna, would you like to please share some, and then we will take the responses one after the other.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran. See, we all know that when there is a will, there is a way. So, and nothing is impossible. If you really wish to work on it, everything would be, possible. So, I would just suggest that involving parents at early years is a very good option. Whether they are literate or not, but definitely they would be having some sort of skills that would be really helpful for the school as well as for their own children. So, firstly, we should be having some sort of sessions for the parents first before the child comes into the school, where we really need to guide them what type of support we are asking, like the school management is asking from the parents, and then how can they be a part of that. Providing sanitizers to schools is not very easy to most of the schools, we know that. So in that case, we can ask parents that if they can send a bottle of sanitizer or Dettol spray or something like that, which their child is going to use every after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever they are going to do, or whatever work they are going to do with. Secondly, if there is a specific material that is there at home, with the child is really, really close to that, they can send that, and that stays in the child's bag. The child can use it, show it to everyone, and then put it back inside and take it home. Secondly, when we are talking about group work or collaborative learning, we can have little bit of academics saying, like, although I said that yes, academics is not important at that stage, but whatever prior knowledge they have, like for example, if they know their shapes, we can give them a chalk, tell them that draw your favorite shape on the floor or on the carpet or whatever, and you need to sit within that premises, okay, whatever shape you have drawn. So in that case, they will know and they will learn how to, socializing also with the peers, yet stay together and work in the classrooms. Sharing and caring, of course, as Fazia Gulab mentioned that, values should still be there. So keeping that in mind, we should tell them that, okay, we have to respect each other's feelings, we have to respect whatever people are having or whatever, but still we cannot share our things directly. You need to carry your own things because we are responsible citizens now, and situations have really drastically changed over the period of time, and we will get back to normal, but that will take some time, okay? So In that case, we will be really helping them to come up with that situation. And secondly, whatever situation scenarios they are going through at their homes at the moment, financial crises are there, unemployment is there, abusive language is there, TV programs which are not suitable for them, they are there. So we really need to work on them also, because when once the kids are going to come back, it will be a huge thing that the teachers will really have to work with them. So before that, we will really need to have be ready with our homeworks, that what are the specifically things that we need to focus. And then I would also suggest that involving parents is a very very good idea. Maybe not all the parents at one go, but then in groups and chunks we can invite them, train them, and then what sort of help we need from them. Like I mentioned, if the schools are not providing with a substitute teacher or a helper teacher, maybe parents can do that, right? So these are some of the strategies that because the school will not look the same as it was before. And secondly, since the young learners are more they're mostly visual learners, so I would say that rather than having those academic hangings all around them, we should be having like previously we used to have magic words. I would say that sorry, thank you, and all those things. Instead of that, we can have our symbols saying that sneeze, while you're sneezing you need to cover your face, while you are doing some work, or after you have completed a task we really need to wash, sanitize ourselves. Sit where your shapes are, or where your favorite fruit is, whatever strategies the teacher is going to teach them. So those sort of charts should be made on the softboards. It should be hanged over there, and daily they should be emphasized. That okay, what are some of the rules that we really need to follow today? Okay, these are the rules. Rule number one, rule number two, rule number three, and then the students are slowly going to get used to it. Because I remember when I was a teacher and I used to start teaching the magical words, everybody used to say, "Auntie, sorry, kab bolna hai? Auntie, ye kab karna hai? Abhi bhi sorry bol do." So things like that. It took some time, but yes, once they are ready with that, I never had any problems with that. So it will take some time. And secondly, on the TVs also, they are always watching that so, आगे cover करें, mask पहने, ये करें, वो करें. So they're already familiar with those things. Now the thing is that they need to implement that in the school premises also. And we can also emphasize that once they are at home, what are some of the things that they really need to do? When they're going home, they've reached home, they should immediately go to the washroom, wash their hands, faces. If there's water, water facilities are there. Take a bath, take a nice shower with Dettol in it and all those things, and then come out, and then you can touch your other belongings and you can play with your siblings. You can have your food later on. So these are some of the things that we really need to train them. And involving academics at this time, maybe to a very limited thing. I would say limited percentage should be there, not 100% that aaj ye pad lete hain, aaj wo pad lete hain. So we should work on the situation, that how we are going to learn to live with the situation. And nothing is stopped. We have to continue with our things, our social gatherings, our entertainments, our whatever we used to play with, whatever we used to do that. So these are some of the things that we can do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Amna. I think there were so many points that if we start sharing it, I will take about 2 to 3 minutes to summarize. Let's quickly come to Fawzia. Fawzia, would you please share some of the opportunities that you think parents and teachers can do for the students who are in the age of primary?
Right. Kiran, yes, I will respond to this question. So whether if you take it as opportunity or you take it as something that needs to be done in our education system. So I will respond what I think I believe is emergency in our case. Now see, COVID has taught us a lot. And this has taught us that we are not a nation who is skilled technologically. Right? If you just, without any research, if you observe or just see the schools, there are only some schools who are offering online teaching. The reason, what's the reason? The reason, in my opinion, is like teachers are not trained. So, see, our teachers are not trained in using technology, our parents are not trained in using technology, our students are also not trained in using technology. Now, we need to work in this because the future is based on technology. So we will not manage if we don't know the technology. So the first thing that I believe is that we need to update our curriculum. Okay, curriculum has from like EC, primary, adolescence, higher secondary, all levels. Curriculum should have important part of technology. So children should be learning technology. Now children cannot learn until and unless the teachers know it. So which means teacher education also, right? In teacher education, teachers need to be trained how to use technology in their teaching. And if teachers are taught that's not enough, schools have to have resources. So even if teachers are competent in technology, if students will learn, but if schools have no resources, so technology will be of no use. So where will they practice technology? So I very strongly believe that this pandemic has taught our nation a lesson that we need to be experts. Is not only calling and receiving the calls, but how to learn from using the technology. Because see, our teachers in most of the school, the teachers are not trained. You can conduct a survey. There are schools on fingertips where teachers are trained. Otherwise, the majority of the teachers, the big majority in our country, they are not trained how to teach. So means like we can keep talking and talking and talking, but look at our system. Our schools have no electricity, right? So like how are students going to learn technology and teachers? So this so many questions when you like look at it, like even if now schools will have online teaching, so who is going to solve the problem of internet connectivity? How the electricity, the power failure, students are struggling. So, our governments have to do a lot more before we talk about like, online teaching. Because see, online teaching is now also there. Many schools, if you will like search, schools are doing online teaching, but see who is benefiting. It's only the elite. Okay, the normal people are not. So all those children in interior Sindh or Punjab or KPK or Balochistan, they are out of learning. Forget about schooling, they are out of learning. And to get them back into learning mode will be very difficult. And the threat is that many of them might quit schooling also. They may not come back to schools after, not after, I mean, they may not come back after 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. So we will have so many students out of school, right? We will have few students because see, parents are suffering. Parents are not like strong financially, they are losing their jobs. So all those parents might get their children helping them to earn. So there is not one problem, there are multiple problems. So we need to be concerned about, see, washing hands is not enough. There is something else. Yes, washing hand has to be there, COVID, all those things. But then we need, if we want really our children not to suffer in future, we need to train our teachers, teacher education. Our teachers who are working in schools right now, they need to be trained. So curriculum for teacher education needs to be improved. Curriculum for schools also need to be improved. Technology has to be made integral part of teacher education as well as schooling. Together with teachers and students, I think it's very important we train the parents also. So there have to be classes for parents. So every school, I would say, might conduct some session for the parents on use of technology. And then finally, I would say technology has to be accessible, right? All parents cannot afford. If there are 4 children, 5, 6, average Pakistani has 4 children, one laptop. Who is going to use the laptop?
Right.
Right? So that also has to be. Who is going to pay every month bills for the internet? So all those things we need to think about. Then only, otherwise our talks will remain talks, right? So we need to like help our children, our parents, everyone, and we all of us sitting today as panelists, we need to contribute. We need to,
Yes.
our share has to be there. So I mean, we need to contribute. So I suppose we will be available wherever we have to contribute.
Thank you, Fawzia. Thank you very, very much. Multiple ideas were shared by Fawzia. And again, if I'll start summarizing, it will take about 2 to 3 minutes. So let me quickly come to Fawzia. And again, Fawzia, the very same question. What opportunities do you see? Thank you very much, everybody. A number of questions have come up and we will try to answer all of them right after Fawzia's response. So if you still have anything to share, please feel free so that I may take all the questions and then we'll ask. So over to you, Fawzia, for the opportunities.
All right. Thank you, Kiran. I will not take a lot of time because I see Amna and Fawzia has already covered most of the things. I will only talk about one thing, that one opportunity I definitely see, that if we just reflect on the pre-COVID situation, that we were, as teachers, I think we all were struggling with the teaching pedagogies and the problem with the engagement of these children with their academics, with studies, concentration and focus of these children on studies and all that. We all were struggling that, right? We have low achievers, we have slow learners, so we have all those kind of situations pre-COVID case. So I think this ratio will, what I foresee, I'm not negative about it, but I definitely foresee that this ratio will rise after post-COVID school opening, basically. Because there will be different kind of challenges, and the slow learners would multiply, and problems with skills of children will multiply, and it will be there. And I think the better way, I won't say it will be the better way, but I think we need to look for very creative or innovative ways to deal with this kind of problem. Because it will be like for masses, we have to deal with that. We will have, for example, I put one simple scenario, that if we had like 100 children, and out of 100 children, 50 were slow learners. So now we might have 80 children or 90 children who will be slow learners. So now what I see basically for teachers and for school administration and for parents, I would include parents, all the stakeholders are part of it. So basically the challenge will be massive. So the first thing to deal with is to take care of the well-being of these children rather than start dealing with the academics or the skill of these children. So like when the schools open, I don't know how it will work out, but it's basically that should be the way to start with, like open space activities maybe. I understand when I'm saying that we don't have big schools, we don't have, most of the schools don't have grounds also even, and most of the schools don't have windows and doors or even. So I understand all these things, but I think we need to be creative and innovative. We need to find a way to deal with that. And the best way would be to have outdoor activities with these children, maybe outdoor classes with these children so that there is social distancing. Children are not together, and such activities in which, they become socialized in a new way of socialization. Right? Yeah, it will be a different kind of socialization, but it will be socialization, obviously, because we are humans and socialization is in our genes, basically. So nobody can change that. So that's something, I will go for outdoor activities, more creative activities, more engagement activities of the sort, which basically help to maintain the social distance, but at the same time, help these children with their well-being as well. So this is what I foresee, the only one opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Fawzia. You were talking about social distancing, and see, the four of us are sitting from our 4 different places, still together, still talking to each other, still supporting each other. And this, I think, is a very positive outcome of this COVID, that yes, despite being at distance, we are at one frame. So this itself is yeah, so this is something, an opportunity that I see, that I can see all of you together despite being at a distance. So yes, this is the future of education that we all foresee. Thank you very much, my dear panelists. Now let's come to the questions. I'm really pleased to say that our chat box is full of questions for the presenters, and which is a very, very pleasing moment for us, because you see, when your students, when your viewers, when your listeners ask questions, it means they were really there with you, right? So some of the questions, because we are running short of time and we're just left with 6 minutes, I will only request the 3 of you to pick up one question each, which have actually been asked specifically to you. The rest of the questions that have come up, listeners, most of the questions have already been answered while Fozia and Amna were sharing the responses. So I think I don't need to go back to them. But yes, there are 3 specific questions for Amna, for Fozia, and for Fozia Nawaz. So Amna, the question that was asked to you, I think you have already seen that. If not, the question was, what about group lessons, plan to review, peer work? Is it that going to be a continued as part of the EC early routine post-COVID?
Yeah, I would like to say that yes, it would be definitely a part of that in a different way. Okay, plan to review will also be the same, but with a different strategy. It will be a twisted one. The teachers will have to really plan for that. Keeping the same, like plan to review will not change, but the strategy will change. Okay, previously we used to send 4 to 5 students in one learning corner, learning station, but now maybe not more than 2 to 3 children will go over there, and that also we will really need to divide those areas into sort of cubicle sort of thing, where only one child is sitting, because you never know whenever the child is going to sneeze or cough. So we really need to take care of all little things. Large group time, of course, it will remain the same, but the children will be sitting, of course, in a group maybe, but by having little distance in between them. So in between, we can just ask them to put their favorite toy which they have brought from home, or maybe we can have small arrows that on the arrow nobody should be sitting. So some sort of strategies would be changed, but the entire routine would definitely be there. Your story time will definitely be there. So in that we can have stories related to social distancing yet working together. So we really need to create those stories, because up till now those stories are not over there. So we really need to we really need to work on that. But yes, as far as you are saying about the daily routine, it will definitely be there, but with a twist.
Thank you, Amna. I think the answer is very well explained by you. Thank you. And I think the viewer has got the response to it. Fazia, a question for you from one of our viewers. How do you see post-COVID school routine be like after this entire pandemic gets over?
I will take a very ideal scenario for that, because it will vary for different people, different contexts, in different schools, basically. But how I see schools would be basically less children in the classroom, maybe more flexible timetable, and flexibility in the core subjects, basically, the subjects which your students are learning. So it won't be like having a maths class with like writing on the board and children copying and sitting and teachers sitting and correcting the copies then and giving them homework. I don't see it happening that way in ideal context. And there will be variations for that. Children will be still learning because they are spending most of their time in with screen these days. And what I'm anticipating that they are learning, they are gaining some skills if they are doing that. And I think they need support and guidance at this stage so that they are able to navigate that, that space at that time. So they need to do something today so that they are able to do something at that time, because there will be totally different kind of skills which will be expected from these children. So that's what I foresee in the schools happening. And I foresee that with this particular age group, there will be more parental engagement, which pre-COVID was still a challenge. And current COVID situation, I think there is more engagement of parents. And some would say that, okay, there is less engagement of parents. I think there is more engagement because students are spending more time at home. They are with their families and all that. But after the COVID situation ends and we will enter into the school again, so I think I would see some support from the parents and more support from parents. So I see collaborative work among teachers and parents so that they can facilitate these children, because it will be, for some children, it will be traumatic also. When I'm saying that, I'm saying it with responsibility, because when children go to school after a year or after 6 months, so detaching from the routine, what they are having now will be a challenge for them. Even for the adolescents, we see that, okay, they are more stable, they are not younger as compared to EC and primary children, but I think they will have more challenge, because like attention span would be a problem at that time, because they are dealing with technology most of the time. So they want results like in a minute, in a second, which will not happen in post-COVID situation. right? So schools need to change a lot, and I see a lot of changes. Still, the debates are happening. People are discussing about that. So, but it will be a different kind of school. I definitely foresee it will not be the same. Assessments will be different. Assessment patterns would be different. Teaching methodologies would be different. Interaction of teachers with students would be totally different. Interaction of students would be totally different. So it will not be the same, basically. I mean, I think as educationists, I think we all have accepted that reality that it will not be same. But what will it be like? I think there are still some thoughts and discussions which are happening, and it will be something like that only, but it will not be same definitely. So they might not require a big bag to carry with them. They don't need to carry the subject books for timetable. They might have different kind of social activities. And I would prefer outdoor activities more if that's a possibility, if we have ground and all that. So that, because students are already in the house at the moment. They are closed, no playground, no playing space and all that. So I think to maintain that well-being of when they come back to school, they need open spaces, they need ideas, they need innovation, they need creativity. Talking to them, listening to them. I think subjects might not be very helpful at that time, but listening to them, how they have dealt with, how they have spent their time during COVID situation, what do they expect, some kind of things which you can help them reflect on, talk to them, listening to them, like, some activities in which they just open up so that those areas of well-being can be taken care of. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, you have answered the question, and you have taken so much of the time that we are left. It's actually an hour. That's okay. We have already taken an hour, but I would just like to take about 2 to 3, 4 minutes more. So I would really request the viewers to stay with us, because there's one question which I really want Fawzia Gulab to answer before I go for the wrap up. So Fawzia, a question for you, and this is from one of my very dear students, and she says that her son doesn't take interest at all in studies. So please suggest some ideas. And he's in the primary school. So something from your experience, if you would like to share.
Right. Yes. For that question, I know it's not only she that her son is not taking interest. My kids are also not taking interest in online teaching, right? We all are in the same situation. Now, see, the challenge is not for the children, but the challenge is for parents. So I would say that parents need to sit with the child, right? So I need to convince, like I have adolescent children, so I have spoken to them, counseling them, talking to them, making them realize, but still it is so difficult to convince them to learn online. The reason, the life is very easy without learning, whether it is online or in the school, like children are having fun. So same is the case with whether primary or secondary or ECE children, they all are happy, no work, no homework, nothing to learn. So we need to tell them, like I will share my example only. So I also struggled, like your friend is struggling with her child, I struggled with my children of teaching them of school subjects, but they would not agree. So then I left them to them. I said, like, see, you need to do some constructive activity and tell me what that constructive activity, and think of your own way and all that. So then my kids realized, and they are now doing some online courses of their choice. So the issue is that as parents, we cannot impose whatever the age of the child is, right? We have small kids in the family, even they are not learning. So imposing on them and telling them to study where they don't see schools, they are not in touch with the studies. So we have to tell them, let's do something. And that something we as parents would know is study. But students, we don't use the term study and let's learn maths and all that. So if children are small, you can ask them to write something about your mother, to make a drawing, or to do some calculation like count money. So what I would say, get children involved in learning through daily activities. It's not necessary that child has to learn academics, right? No need. There is no need for children to learn Urdu book of class 9, or maths of class 6, or science of class 3. No. Forget about classes, forget about subjects. Okay? Like we are aware of integrated curriculum. So, you know, when we teach integrated curriculum, I remember very famous author, he always said that life is not in compartments. Our schools teach us to learn in compartments: English, Urdu, science, math, social studies. So, what we have done through schooling, we have compartmentalized life. We don't do maths, we don't do social studies, we don't do science, but in one thing we do everything. So I would say, like, integrate the learning of your child in your daily activities, and believe me, the child will learn more than taking a book and then memorizing what is science and what are the definitions and all those things. So my suggestion would be daily activities, learning through daily activities. Thank you, Kiran.
Thank you, Fawzia. I think this was one of the best responses I have ever got, because yes, this is also what I appreciate, what I encourage, and what I promote. It's all about skills. We all need to come out of the compartments that we have made. Actually, these pocketing has limited our learning and our knowledge. We are unable to come out of the box that we have created. So you see, stepping out of the box is very important. So be come out. Indeed a lovely experience. I hope you enjoyed. It was enriching. My apologies to all those questions which you were unable to answer, but an announcement, it is a good news for everybody that these kind of webinars, panel discussions, how-to sessions will now be a regular feature at the Skillers Education's page. Please feel free. We are coming up with a number of discussions. We are coming up with a number of ideas to share with teachers and parents. Please stay tuned. Tomorrow we will be having Ms. Rahila, and she will be also talking about integrating language into our daily lives to develop the language skill that we need. Next week we will be having some other eminent people. Ms. Amna, who is one of our presenters, will be sharing a lot about early years in the very coming future. So thank you very much, everybody. Loads of love, loads of prayers. Please stay positive and spread positivity around. Thank you, Amna. Thank you, Fawzia. And thank you, Fawzia. So with this, I will sign
Thank you, Kiran,
out.
for inviting.
I think it was an excellent experience for all of us.
Yes.
Bye.
Right? So I am just signing off.
Indeed.
Thank you and bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.